I kind of want to back up to something you said right at the beginning. First of all, I want to just acknowledge just the work that you've been able to do because of your injury and all the people you've been able to help. It's wonderful just to see people using trials, obstacles, right, as ways to help people. I think that's one of the greatest things we can do as injured musicians is find out some way, even if it's just one small way, that we can, help people going through similar things. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that right off the bat. But the second thing was towards the beginning. I don't want to misquote you. Tell me if I'm wrong, but you had said that you had kind of grown up in a smaller band, school music program situation.
Yeah.
Same
small
deal.
Town,
Yeah.
rural. I had 30 kids in my band in high school. And then, I went to, a smaller liberal arts school for my undergrad. But yeah.
Well, I'm from rural Pennsylvania, so
so you get it.
a little, yeah. It's a tough, can be a tough thing.
Yeah.
And with that comes a lot of pressures that I think can be really difficult for students to deal with, and educators. And so, from your perspective, now having taught musicians of all ages about this type of stuff, how could a small school band director, or a student that feels kind of that pressure, how could they create situations in which they can play healthily, even though there's those kind of not time constraints, but there's not that depth chart in their band program that they can rely on. There's a study, a research article that was done in the International Trumpet Guild conference journal a couple of years ago. I found it while I was doing some research for a paper, and this professor noted that this was a big cause, although not right away, could be a big cause of injury in students, because people like us, when we get to those college situations and we just have all that passion for the music, I always say I was a kid in a candy store, right? When I first got to music school, especially
I couldn't have said it better myself. Yeah.
my school, the school I just graduated from is very renowned. It's the best school in my state, and for music, and just had all these opportunities. And so I wanted to take all of them. And so if you want to also kind of touch on that, of how a person coming from a similar situation could, I don't know if setting boundaries is the right way to put it, but look at their music education from a more holistic perspective, in that there's all these opportunities, but there does need to be a balance and stuff like that. So it's kind of a combo question,
Yeah, that's so interesting, because I hadn't ever thought of it that way, or if I'm getting this right, being in that small school environment, and I teach students like this, and all of a sudden it's clicking, kind of what you're saying, where it's there are so many opportunities. It's if you're the only great horn player, it's you're going to always play the first parts. You are always going to play in all of the bands, especially if it's something you really enjoy. And you can easily get spread too thin. Is that kind of what you're speaking to?
Yeah, exactly. Because for me, that was that was part of what made it so hard to take the time off that I needed to, because I had my hand in so many cookie jars.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm just thinking about that from the young age of just junior high and high school, and how that started. And I hadn't thought of how that might have set up that mindset, just from an early age. And then same thing with my undergrad too, where it was it was on the smaller side. And so many of us would double up on ensembles, or both the bands and then the orchestra. And then especially if you, backing up, in high school, and when you're a young player, it's if you're, again, the big fish in the little pond, it's and you have a type A personality, or, have perfectionism, maybe that's how it all begins. It's just I've got to keep, like I want to be the first chair. I want to have all these opportunities. And then that carries on when you are in that larger situation, like in a conservatory in a larger school where there is the depth, and trying to get back up to that level and overdoing it. And so I totally see the relationship of that. It's so interesting to think about. And I think about that now I have students kind of in that similar, very much in that similar situation. I see myself in them, and that is really tricky. I want to think about that one where I think on one hand, sharing opportunities for them where they can see this on a larger scale and see that, in those more advanced extracurricular ensembles that they might be a part of, kind of the world out there, and how there's a lot of people out there, and where that could be a way. But then also, I talk a lot with my students about, and especially those students, where just how we can take time off and how to listen to yourself. I think that's the biggest thing, where it's how to start trusting when you're feeling overworked, and that isn't a failure, or that doesn't mean that you're a great musician. And that's so hard, I feel like, to teach a young person, or even ourselves, to listen to that voice, where and I try to, I think people in I think this, I'm kind of going in a lot of directions, but I think this is your question of like how, I think you said like how as teachers or how as directors we can watch and make sure that this doesn't happen or, that we don't overwork ourselves. And I think modeling that, we're being like, hey guys, maybe as a director or even myself, I tell my students, it's like, I had a lot on my plate. I had life stuff like this, like I just had a daughter, a 10-week-old, like in my personal life. And so I'm sharing those experiences of, I put the horn down for 6 weeks. I love music. I love teaching you all, but I had other things in my life that I wanted to give my full attention to, and that's okay. And even on a smaller level, where I actually have a student recently, say like, I want to make sure I get in practicing every single day, and it's okay. How can we talk about how it's okay to take a break? Is we're not taking away from your progress, that it's actually going to help your playing. Of course, physically, but mentally, I'm thinking even more so, like just clearing the slate and giving your brain a brain break and then coming back more refreshed. And so I think in modeling and sharing how we do that in our own lives, and maybe if we don't, that's a great time for reflection on just how we set up in little ways, like how we set up boundaries of, I'm just thinking for myself of, these are the hours that I teach, or this is when I'm able to answer your questions. And maybe that gives students just starting to build that foundation of, oh, I can say no to certain things, and that's healthy. Or that I can, Miss Toth is a professional musician and she took a day off, or she's taking time off, and she doesn't seem to be worried about that. Like, maybe that's okay. And so I think in modeling, if that makes sense, like how we can share our own stories with students to help maybe combat, because they're enthusiastic. They love it. We loved it. We want to do all of the things, but teaching how that to be strong and to do the things that you're most passionate about, there is engagement and rest. And I think modeling that might be a great start.
Hey, thanks for tuning into this episode of Trust the Process, the official podcast of Musician Unchained, the newest coaching program dedicated to helping musicians navigate and overcome injury. But before you go, I have a few quick ways you can stay connected and support our growing community. First of all, I'd love to hear from you. Shoot me a text with the link below and share your thoughts, questions, or just say hi. You can also check the show out on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We also would love to see you in our Facebook support group, Trust the Process Podcast Injured Musician Support Group. If you found value in today's episode, consider making a donation to support our mission of empowering musicians worldwide. Every contribution helps us create more content and resources for you, so visit link number 2 below to support the mission. If you decide to donate, I'll send you my newest resource, the Injured Musician Toolkit, which is an ebook designed to give you tools to help you get through your injury. Subscribe to our newsletter to get exclusive insights, tips, sneak previews of episodes, and announcements straight to your inbox. Act now and I will send you a free gift. So sign up at www.musicianunchained.com/newsletter. And if you or someone you know would like to go deeper with me in the topics of injury and mindset, head over back to musicianunchained.com and check out the Let's Hang tab. As always, I want to thank Daniel Baldwin, my audio engineer, and my sister Dana Lovell for her help with the promotional materials. There is no podcast without them. But before I go, I want to tell you how much I deeply appreciate your time and support. You are not alone on this journey. There are musicians and educators out there who need this resource, and we need to get it to them. Together, we are breaking the chain of old habits and thought patterns that don't serve us anymore, and unchaining the potential within ourselves to face each challenge with strength and resilience. So, as I always say, keep on keeping on and keep trusting the process. Until next time.